Welcome to Ring Talk, Series 3, Episode 3. Myself, Martin Theobald. I'm back after a week off, and with me, Steve Goodwin. Glasses on. How you doing, Steve?
I'm good, thank you. I can't see anything anymore. I'm getting so old. It's getting old stuff. You even look blurry on a PC, although I might say you're better looking blurry, but there we go. I can see you.
I don't blame you. I look slightly less grey on a PC, so it's all right.
Oh, dear.
How you keeping? Do you have a nice week off without me and you and Kev?
Yeah, we've done the thing with Kev, and then I took Linus off horse racing on Friday. He's never been horse racing before, so we took him down to Wales, and he had a bit of a good experience for a day of racing, so he enjoyed that, and it was nice going racing. And we're doing it again next week, and I'm taking Mickey Moo, my friend, who's, as you know, is a boxing manager. And I think the racing thing now is all about taking friends and people to experience a day as an owner at the races, which is it's quite nice. It was actually nice to do it, and for the first time in my life, it wasn't done as a business. It was great. It was really enjoyable.
Was your horse running?
Yeah, it ran. It ran well. Ran exactly as I thought it would. So it was a perfect day. Perfect day.
Excellent. I've got a text, isn't it? Is that your horse?
I got a text. It runs again next Monday at Windsor, probably. I think we're running at Windsor next week.
Nice. All right. Is that like, I know we're here for boxing, but for my horse racing perspective that I know nothing about, applies to boxing as well, by the way. Is that to try and make it win yet, or is that to get it experience? Are you putting in a few 4-rounders to start with?
It doesn't really work like that. Let's just say that my attitude to horse racing is the same as it is with boxing, is that everything is strategic and every race is for a purpose. And I think that that is really the way that it is. You know, I have enough experience when I'm in the business. I've been in horse racing I've ran it for 24 years, I think it was. And when I've been 24 years, and I've done all the tipping on Sky Sports and stuff like that. So I know what I'm doing. So when we get a horse, you need to, when you get a new horse, you want to learn about it. You run it, and you need to understand how it works, how it functions, how it runs, what its temperament is, what ground, what trip, and you start to learn more about it as you go through, and that's part of what you do. So yeah, it's not if you think that if horse racing was everybody thought they could just do that, give it a couple of 4-rounders and then go and win, you'd have bankrupt bookmakers and they wouldn't exist. So everybody that tries that, most of them get it wrong. Most of them get it way wrong. So it's
Did you give it the name, or do you inherit the name?
They inherit the name because it's a second-hand horse. So to give you an example of the horse, we paid, I think it was £12,000 for it, but 2 years ago it was sold for £166,000.
And it's like the Paul Pogba of horses.
Yeah. So what happens is it's well bred, and something goes wrong, and it doesn't fulfil its potential, and then we go in. We buy it. It's like a boxer that's career's on the down, and we resurrect its career. And that is
doing a Waddy Camacho with it.
Yeah, same sort of thing, but in horse racing. So we've done that before. We've got horses and turned their careers around. I've done that, and it's the same with boxers. But you learn and you manoeuvre and you learn over a period of time. And I believe that when I look back in a year's time, it will have been a really smart purchase.
I mean that with nothing but love for Waddy, by the way. That's not to say that he was doing bad.
His career was down, but his career was down in the dumps. And okay, we helped him, but he had to do it. And he was inspirational in the way he resurrected his career. And that's what I like to see. And I like to see people that, or things like this, that we can resurrect it. And we've got a trainer that's on the up. So it's nice to work with a horse racing trainer that's trying to make his name in the sport. So we're doing it together. So it's great.
Anyway, right, enough about horses.
Yeah.
We're doing a full Q&A. We've got loads of questions, so I can't sit here talking about horses because I know fuck all about it. Right, so let's do some questions. We're just going to fire through all the questions we've got because we've got loads. And we're going to start off with Ross on Twitter. Following MTK Global ceasing operations, have there been many former MTK boxers in contact inquiring about being managed by yourself?
So let's deal with that. MTK were not a management company. MTK, as MTK, had people that managed the boxers. So they had various faces that managed boxers. Those people that boxers were under contract with are still their managers. So the fact that MTK does not exist does not mean that the boxers' contracts with those people still don't exist. So MTK may have had a promotional deal with those boxers. So what will happen is the boxers will still be managed by those people, but now without any of the promotional deal. That's how it will, because MTK are not able to fulfill that promotional deal now that they do not exist, in effect. So boxers would not be ringing because they're under contract.
All right. So they're under contract for management to the individual, not to the organisation.
Correct.
Okay, right.
They
So
do not manage anybody. So if you've got boxers ringing around, and I'm sure I've heard there have been, they shouldn't be, and people should not be entertaining that.
I know of one.
Yeah.
I know of one, at least.
Mm-hmm.
No names. Also from Ross on Twitter. I saw Nisa Sauerland comment about Julio Vannozzi asking for more money several times after Josh Kelly was overweight. Have you ever dealt with anything like that? Have you ever had to report fighters to the board like Sauerland said he was going to?
Right. So what we've got to establish here is where the guilt lies in this whole transaction. Now, it may be Julio Vannozzi's fault. I don't know. But let's look at where we are here. From what I understand, Adam Booth asked for the weight to be moved up 2 weeks before, but it's already above Vannozzi's fighting weight. So apparently they felt that it had all been agreed. And then Vannozzi at the scales goes mad, jumps off and demands a load more money. In his defense and looking at that side of it, the question would be, if he was told 2 weeks before and if he had agreed, why would he have made that big issue? Because you would have surely done the fight and made a financial arrangement in advance. You wouldn't wait till the scales to be discussing money. Because if you were going to put the weight up with the fighter, you'd tell the fighter 2 weeks before, you would say, I know we made the fight at 154 or 153, but it's going to be 156, 157. And the fighter can then say, no, I'm not going to do it, or I want to renegotiate my number. A fighter, logically, for me, is not going to go to the weigh-in, turn up, weigh in, and when the fighter comes in at the same weight he was told 2 weeks ago, then kick off and want more money. That makes no sense.
Unless they were doing it, and I'm not saying they were, but unless they were doing it to hold him over a barrel and say, you've got no fight unless you pay us that additional money. Exactly,
but you would have thought that would have already been agreed, and apparently there was no additional money agreed before the weigh-in. So yes, it's one of the other, it's one or two. And therefore, I don't want to pinpoint blame because I don't know the circumstances. All I would say is it's not the first time that Josh Kelly has had a problem with things like this.
True.
And Vannozzi's turned down a lot of money there. Number one, he's turned down a lot of money. Number two, you may never get the opportunity again because he'll be known as difficult to work with. All I know is when Vannozzi fought Linus Udofia, a weight was agreed, Linus made the weight, and Vannozzi turned up and fought. So we didn't have any problem with Vannozzi at all.
Yeah. And in terms of fighters that you've had with it before, I can recall one that you no longer work with, where he was the home fighter, turned up to do, I think it's probably a 4-rounder, and the opponent was a pound overweight. And we're talking somebody... the upper weight limit. So it wasn't like it was a bantamweight and it was coming in, 120 something. It was a fair bit more than that. And the opponent who was there, probably to lose, it was that stage of the career, came in a pound overweight, and your home fighter said, no, I remember that.
And he went home and the fight didn't happen.
Yeah. On the day, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Which is, to be honest, so that was ridiculous. So you get some funny things happening. Yeah, that was ridiculous. When when you are the home fighter and the guy's a journeyman and he's a pound or two, it doesn't matter. A pound or two doesn't matter if you're levels of class above. But yeah, that's happened. But the Vannozzi thing, it's hard for me to comment because I'm not privy to the actual full thing that happened and whether who communicated what to whom at what period. All I'm saying is it does not make sense for him to turn up and do that at the weigh-in. It doesn't make sense. So even if Vannozzi's team were told, maybe his trainer wasn't, maybe Vannozzi, who knows? But
yeah,
it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up.
All right, next one, because we've got a fair few to get through here. Tim Brown on Twitter. Who do you think is in the best position now, and who will be in 12 months out of Sky, BT, and DAZN?
Sky.
Do you think they're in the best position now?
Yes, because they've got that. Maybe they're in the best position because they have the best platform.
But their stable is weak.
But they are building. But they are building. They're having to rebuild because Eddie Hearn took a load of fighters with him. But you are seeing. But I think what will happen. You said it's the best position in 12 months. I believe that they will get a lot of the fighters because the viewing figures are so much bigger. So I think that Sky will probably be in the best position. But I mean, BT haven't got the figures, the viewing, that will just be at the same as it is now. And whether Eddie Hearn in the UK, and I'm talking about UK only, I think he's lost his thing where everybody in the UK wants to sign with him. I don't believe that's the case anymore.
Well, look at the Olympians and where they're all going.
So therefore, that's what I'm saying. That going down the road, I think Sky are going to be the main leaders in it. I think that's what Eddie Hearn gave when he gave up Sky, and you can see that Ben Whittaker, who's probably the hottest property from the Olympics, signed with Sky. So I think they will be in their best position. They're weak in terms of their roster, but that's because a lot of fighters are under contract with DAZN, are working with Eddie. But if all the new talent starts to go through Sky, when all of these Cordinas and Buatsis and all that finish, what's he got coming through from the bottom in comparison? Shannon Courtney and people like that. That doesn't, and Ebony Bridges for the fact she's done so well. But these people are not going to propel DAZN to that level. Do you know what I mean? That these Olympians and the top class boxers will.
I love the fact Hearn was casting aspersions upon where the money might have come from for that Ben Whittaker signing.
Did he?
As if, yeah, he was querying where the money would have come from. He kind of alluded to he knew what Ben Whittaker was getting as a signing fee for joining, and it was, I think he said, maybe double what he'd offered. And he was querying where the money would have come from to offer that kind of money.
So do you think that was sour grapes, or do you think that was a genuine comment from Hearn?
I would say it's sour grapes to some degree, and then also you're opening a can of worms I'm not sure you want opening. Would be my suggestion. Because I'm not sure anyone comes out well out of that. Well, some people will, but I'm not sure they would. No. To add on to this, does DAZN not being a TV channel affect them as Sky and BT could advertise the boxing during other sports? Definitely. I think that's what you alluded to then, wasn't it? It was a platform.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that. Yeah, I definitely feel that if you look at a lot of people now, so when I say people that like to watch boxing and like to see it, but they're more casual, they are going to be much more aware of the Sky fighters than the DAZN fighters. I mean, Conor Benn is known because of who he is, but people aren't really watching him, and they're not following the fights like they do on Sky. The numbers, there's even talk of Dylan White going and fighting on Sky, isn't there now? So, I know his stock has fallen a little bit, but you've got, I think what you've got there is, I think Eddie Hearn is I think he's the best promoter out there, but he's now not got the best product.
I think that's fair. It levels the playing field a little bit.
Definitely. But he is best promoter by a mile, in my opinion.
Yeah, I may not necessarily agree with everything and like everything that he does and says, and as an organisation, but he is the best promoter out there. Better Q on Twitter with a brave new profile pic as well. With a handful of questions, so we'll fire through them. Number one, where have you both been, and is Ring Talk now back weekly? You've just been busy, haven't you? That's what it comes down to.
I've been so busy with my financial business, working 16, 17 hours. I haven't had the time to do it. And but we've taken on more staff, and we've now got reorganisation, and so I've got more time again. So yeah, we should hopefully be able to do it every week.
Yeah, we may not do it every week. We'll see what's on and what's happening.
Yeah, most weeks.
It's a busy period coming up for Goodwin Boxing now, so we'll come up and talk.
Yeah, I mean, when there's nothing going on in the summer, then no. But I think if we've got shows coming up, we'll try and do it every week during those periods where things are happening.
Yeah. Will Linus go back into 6 to 8 rounders or straight back into good domestic 10, 12 rounders?
Got a meeting with Nissa Sowland next week with Linus, and we're going to go down and chat through what I think we should do, and what Linus wants to do, and we will make some sort of agreement with Nissa. So it's really wrong for me to say on here at this stage what I want when I've got a meeting about it next week. So we'll once we've had the meeting with Nissa and the Sowland brothers, we will then obviously tell everybody what's going on with Linus.
Will Linus attend that as well and have his input to it?
I would like him to, yeah. I wanted him. I've told him. So, yeah, the idea is for Linus to come down with me, yeah. I think there's too much in boxing where managers hide things from promoters, where people are not working together. It may be promoters dealing with the fighters on their, trying to do on the fighters on their own to get the fighters to do something stupid, or it may be managers doing something with the promoter and the fighter not really know what's really going on. So when you have nothing to hide and you're totally transparent, why not have your boxer at the meeting as well?
Yep. Haney versus Kambosos, prediction off of you both. Kambosos points.
Yeah, I'm going to say Kambosos points with probably a suspect decision.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be a decision that we'll kind of accept, but maybe a little bit of home cooking behind it.
Yeah.
Any Phil Williams fight news? He loves Phil Williams, doesn't he? Love it. Phil
at the moment is suspended, pending on a medical query with the board, and he has been for 2 months.
Okie dokie. Right, Ramez Mahmood. Shout out to Ramez, who not only a top man, good fighter, but a big vocal supporter of what we do on here. So good on him. Going back to a point from last week about the middleweight Janibek, when you're talking about the Danny Dignam fight, let's say there was a fight that was the wrong fight for your fighter that you completely disagreed with, but the fighter and the trainer are pressing to accept the fight. How do you address the situation?
Okay, I can give you an example.
Love that.
I can give you an example of this, okay? But let me give you an example about this, Janibek. I was with Linus on Friday, and I mentioned to him that Bentley was calling out Janibek. And Linus's comment, because he's super intelligent, was, if anybody comes for me for Janibek, they can fuck right off. Because he gets it. He said, why on earth would you, he said, anybody that goes and does that fight, it's just not somebody in their team is just not making a good decision. And Linus said, it's crazy. He said, I don't need to be told not to take that fight by you. I wouldn't take it even if, he said, I know you wouldn't suggest I take it, but even if you did, or Terry did, and he knows we wouldn't, he said, you've got to understand where you are and where you are in boxing and where you've got to build yourself and where you've got to get to. He said, yeah, so that was it. So going on, I can give a recent example of this. We had a phone call from Tony Pill, who was training Tom Ansell, and they were doing a show in Watford, and they wanted to fight Darren Townley. Darren Townley had previously fought in Plymouth, and the fight had not gone well for him. So it was a fight that I thought was crazy for him to take. But he and his trainer, Jamie Spade, wanted to do that fight. It was a fight I didn't want them to do. But remember, I'm not the boss here. That was a fight. It was a 6-rounder. It wasn't a title fight. So in the end, he took the fight and he got stopped in a round. It was the wrong fight at the wrong time. He was low on confidence, and I just didn't feel it was the right fight for him. So in that example, I just had to put my hands up and go, if you want to do it, do it. What I would try to do, if it was in more, is to try and... I had a situation this week with Idris Hill, who's due to box on the 23rd of July. And we talked him out of a fight. Both myself and his trainer, Gary Wilkie, said, no, this is crazy. No, we're not doing that fight. And he listened, and we're going a different route now. So I would say that when you get that, 9.5 times out of 10, the fighters will listen. I was talking to Sajid Abid today, and we were talking about options. And we were talking about something, and Sajid said, well, if my team believes that's the wrong fight for me, I'm not doing it. So that's what fighters do. They should believe in their team. So if a fighter trainer wants to override that team, we'll put our hands up and do it. But I would say that 99 times out of 100, it will be the wrong decision for them. But
I think most boxers are hopefully sensible enough to realise that they have managers and coaches for a reason. And if they've got an opinion, then...
Sometimes you may disagree with the manager, may disagree with the coach.
Yeah.
And then you have
it's not to say you don't think that fighter can ever beat that other fighter. It may just not be the right time to run that fight.
Yeah. And I think, but sometimes, I mean, most coaches also, you work together, but I'm not, by the way, this is not a criticism of either Jamie or Darren, but it's just the one that I can remember. But I'm sure it's happened before. It's definitely happened before with others, but it's the most recent one that I can remember. And I do not ever remember advising a fighter not to do a fight and then doing it and going and winning. I don't think it's never happened.
Fair enough. Right. Will Michael on Twitter, if you could only have 3 toppings on a pizza, what would they be?
Pepperoni.
The important questions in boxing.
A fried egg.
What?
Fried egg. I love fried egg. I want to make a pizza with a fried egg. Because I had, when you went to Pizza Express, they did the most amazing pizza with a fried egg on it. It was fantastic. So pepperoni, fried egg, and probably cheese has to come onto it as well. So yeah, that will do me.
That sounds awful. You're not having all those together. That's all.
Not together, but you give me 3. I'll have they did one in the Pizza Express. It was amazing. It was like a Italian thing, but it had a fried egg on it. Oh, it was lovely. A bit of ham on it, a bit of fried. Oh, it was beautiful. Fried egg pizza.
You've lost the plot, mate. That sounds dreadful. Dan Frost, he of the British Boxing Board of Control. Shout out to Dan. Is all going well with the pro amateur show at York Hall on June 11th? And are there any plans to make it a regular fixture?
Going fine. And yes, we would quite like to incorporate it going forward to help amateur boxers fight at an arena that they would never normally be able to do, or clubs would not be able to afford to stage shows there. So it's a great thing to be able to help, amateur boxing in a way that's productive and everything else. So I see no reason why it's something we can't build on, but we've obviously got to do the first one and go through the logistics. But yeah, I see no reason why we can't build on it.
I mean, is it almost like a pilot show just to see how it all runs and if it's effective?
Exactly that.
Oh, wicked. John Bailey on Twitter. John always asks really well-educated and structured questions. I love them. With inflation, cost of living and utilities rising and not looking like it's coming down anytime soon, will we see this reflected in small hall ticket prices? Will this have an adverse effect on attendance and even shows going ahead?
So the question he's asking is, I presume, is are boxing ticket prices going to rise further?
Or conversely, would they be dropped?
Well, there's no dropping available. There's no dropping available because the costs on the other side are rising quite heavily. But
even, I suppose, stuff like logistics, like if you're paying mileage to an away fighter.
Of course, that's going up, everything. But away boxers now want more expenses. That's gone up. Doctors, if they're traveling, want more mileage. So everything is rising. So that's causing a major logistical problem. Now, we are fair. I mean, I think there's a show, is it the Mo Price show? But somebody's doing a York Hall show where they're doing £50 general admission and £100 just ringside.
Yeah.
That's a bit steep, in my opinion. When we're generally 45 unreserved or 50 for a big show, which we're doing in September, but we're generally, and then we're 75 for ringside. The £100 ringside does include, when we charge 100, that includes free drink for them. So that's fair. So I think some promoters are putting the price up too much, and I think that will harm their attendances. We have no plans to increase the pricing that we currently have. It's going to start, there is no intention to increase. Look, it's tighter, the budgets are tighter. As I was just saying to you, we're finding that the direct sales that we have to our existing customers is lower in the June shows than we were in March. And I feel that it's having a bite in that people are now being a bit more choosy about where they spend their leisure money. I think that's already started. So where it probably will have the impact is if things are tighter, boxers may struggle to sell the tickets numerically. They don't sell over, promoter then struggles to sell, and promoters may start to find that it really bites them heavily. And that may well be an issue going forward. And then promoters then will have to look at their roster of fighters and say, look, if you've got a fighter that keeps pulling out because he doesn't sell tickets or he finds, you're going to have to let him go, because they're no good if they're taking the space of somebody that can sell a ticket. So you're going to have a lot of this where, is that fighter a thing? Where it's going to have a massive impact is in the female sphere fighting. I was quoted literally this morning for a female Eastern European fighter, journeywoman, to do a 4-rounder, and this would include all of the costs and the purse and the flights, £3,500. Now, that is ludicrous, right? Now, nobody can make any money. The boxer that fighter can't, the promoter can't charge the box. It's just, so females are now becoming a logistical nightmare for promoters to promote. Definitely, that's a big problem, especially on the small hall, unless you've got TV money. So that's becoming difficult. So I think promoters are going to struggle more. I think that promoters, unless they've got money externally, are going to struggle to put shows on. There's another show cancelled this weekend in Brentwood. I think promoters that aren't prepared to lose money when things goes wrong are going to cancel shows. We have never cancelled a show. We still won't. I'm telling you now, we will not cancel a London show ever. But it's going to be very, very difficult going forward, I think. Very difficult. But from everybody's perspective.
Jack Gladman.
New matchmaker.
Doesn't say young matchmaker up north who I like him. He's quite outspoken, but not in not in an aggressive way. Just he speaks his mind on Twitter. I like it.
He's also very enthusiastic, and I book fighters with him. Very enthusiastic, and full credit to him for trying to make his mark. Definitely.
Yeah. No, I like him. I have lots of back and forth with him on Twitter. Don't always agree on things, but I like he's very respectful and nice bloke. Steve, your thoughts on the new generation of promoters, managers, and matchmakers, and if the sport is changing?
The sport always changes. Let's go back 10 years from now. from say 2012. I was in my 3rd year of promoting. Who is now promoting that was then in London? Nobody.
Yeah.
Apart from us. So it's changed dramatically since then. We've had people, Miranda Carter packed up. Mickey Hellier may be coming back in, but he's at the moment packed up. Then you've had Tommy Dove come in and go out. Then you've got this new breed of promoters come in. You've got Mo Pryor, who's been there for a bit.
MTK.
MTK have come and gone as a promotional outfit. It changes all the time, so there's nothing new about that. Matchmakers come and go and change. John Pegg is a matchmaker, has been going for years, very good matchmaker. There are some others. But there are some matchmakers that come and go. Some are shockingly bad and they don't last long. Those that are good make their way in. But one thing about boxing that I was saying to somebody the other day, it doesn't tend to have a lot of longevity. People get fed up with the bullshit and they say, I've had enough, I'm walking away. So you find that boxing, not many people last long. We've done 12 years. That's a long time. Not many people last 12 years doing what we're doing, especially when you're in the London marketplace. So, you know, but there's going to be a lot of these. And a lot of these promoters there today are not going to be here tomorrow. Some will make it, some will last, some will go again. So this change happens, and people like Jack Gladman, Tom McNeil, and people like that, as another matchmaker up north, very good at what they're doing, very enthusiastic, all trying their best. Some will make it going further, some won't. But I can give you lists of people that of matchmakers that have been here in the last 5 years that have gone. So, you know, this ever-changing thing, he feels it's ever-changing because he's coming into the market. But there'd been plenty of him before, if you know what I mean, that have come and gone, and some have stayed and some have gone. So it really is an ever-evolving sport. So it's just the way it is. And I was talking the other day, I went out with a couple of Fridays ago with Andy Gill and Jamie Smith, and we went out for a bit of dinner after he fought in the boxer tournament. I mean, I do like to sort of see my boxers outside of a boxing theme as well. And Andy said to Josh, when your dad packs up, are you going to do it? And Josh goes, absolutely not. Not a hope in hell am I going to do it. He's seen it. He said, when my dad goes, I go.
He's too sensible to follow in your footsteps.
He's following my footsteps in the sensible business, in the financial world. He's qualified, but he doesn't want to do the boxing because he's seen the heartache. I mean, Linus, tell me about Linus. I said to Linus, you'd make a good manager. Linus said to me, after the way I've seen that you get treated by boxers, I wouldn't want to do it. So that's why people don't like it.
Good on him. But yeah, good luck to Jack Gladman up north. And
he's doing a lot of matching. He's doing matching in London as well. He's been doing some matching. I think he's doing a bit of the matching from O'Brien and stuff like that down in the south. So, but he's good, and good luck to him. He really, really, really tries hard, and he works hard at it.
Excellent. Steve Baum on Twitter, Baum. How has the Kinahan situation affected Smallhold boxing?
As far as for me, personally, it hasn't made a scrap of difference because we didn't have any ties with them. So
and as you say, the MTK fallout doesn't necessarily impact in that people are contracted to individuals, not to MTK. Not that they are linked to Daniel Kinahan, or were, as legally we probably need to state. It makes no. So whether Daniel Kinahan is involved in MTK or not, Probellum or not, whatever the scenario is, the question is, has it affected Smallhold boxing? Not as far as I'm concerned, not in the slightest. The only way that it would affect Smallhold boxing is if the allegations were true and the money was being invested in certain promotional companies. Well, they won't have the money anymore unless it still comes through. So, but in terms of me, as in I can only speak for me, absolutely no difference whatsoever. No difference at all. Yeah. Castella King, here he is. He pops up now and then.
What do I regret now then?
Which regret are you going to get? Here we go. Morning, Steve. I love the word on such a brutal bastard in this one. I'm going to read it as he's written it.
Yeah.
Any regrets? Any regrets on letting Linus Udofia join the Wassermans, given that his undefeated record now lies in tatters?
Right. He knows that's got to be a joke, right? So Wasserman's done their job. He was mandated for the British title. Whoever his promoter was, you would want them to back him and win the bid, because he was going to do the fight, whether he was promoted by Eddie Hearn, by Boxer or Ben Shalom, or Wasserman's. So what they did, they got him the advantage of fighting on his own show, and they've done a fantastic job for him. So the question about Wasserman's is that so far they have done a brilliant job of Linus, and hopefully they will continue to do so. So absolutely no regrets, because the Sauerlands kept their part of the bargain.
Yeah, and I can tell you, Castella King, that Linus was delighted when the Sauerlands won that purse bid. I had a few text exchanges with him around the time, and he was more than happy with the deal he was getting, with the fact that it'd be on his own show, essentially, all these things. The fact that he lost an incredible fight, yeah.
Describe the tatters, because Linus Udofia's stock has risen massively from that fight.
Yeah. And we love Linus. Final question, Sweet Pugilism on Twitter. Actually, I'm going to make up a question after this, and I'm going to make up who it's sent from. The Sweet Pugilism asks, what are your thoughts on Boxer and the Hatton/Barrera exhibition combining for one ticketed event? So the Boxer one is Hughie Fury against Michael Hunter. And then they're going to run the Hatton-Barrera show straight after it, and the tickets will be valid for both shows. Do you think that this could be a future route for Smallhold shows to combine with high-profile exhibitions?
I hate exhibition boxing. I think it's the biggest load of shite that you can ever want to watch. I wouldn't watch it. I have no interest. It shouldn't be allowed. Two has-beens getting in a ring, seriously, who've had brilliant careers and be in the shadow of their former self. It's just bollocks, total bollocks. So hopefully it does not become a major part, because it's absolute bollocks.
Can I take a punt on the reasoning behind it? What I reckon it is.
Go on then.
The tickets weren't selling well for Hatton-Barrera, so they partner up with Fury versus Michael Hunter, which also won't sell spectacularly well. When has a Hughie Fury fight ever sold like thousands and thousands of tickets? So the easiest way to save face and make it look like a decent product on TV is you pair the two.
I think that makes sense. I think it makes sense. I don't see why anybody. Listen, I love Ricky Hatton as a fighter. I love Marco Barrera as a fighter. But I don't want to see that, and I don't think many, boxing fans. Mark, would you want to see that? Would you? No,
for the same reason I don't really want to go and watch tribute bands. Like, I want to have the memories of what the real bands were. I don't want to go and watch Noasis. I'd rather wait until, maybe Liam and Noel, I'll keep those memories of what they were from when I was a kid.
I'm a little bit different, because sometimes the tribute bands are better than the real band. Now, I'll give you an example that totally off go very quickly. Shakin' Stevens, right? Now, Shakin' Stevens, my 80s pop idol. Right?
Turn my video off for this.
I'm going to see him again in December. He's supporting Status Quo at Wembley Arena, right? He can't sing anymore. His voice has gone. It's totally fucked, right? There is a Shaky tribute who's brilliant. Now, if I want to watch one, really, I'd rather watch the tribute, because the tribute is better than the real thing. So there are times when the tribute is better, because you get the same music sung really well, as opposed to somebody who's a has-been singer, like watching a boxer that's in an exhibition. I went to see Paul Young at Aylesbury Waterside Theatre last week. He was so bad, audience was laughing at him. That's how bad it was. They were laughing at him. So,
which is maybe it wasn't the best analogy in that if you've got an aged rock star, then correct. You don't really.
But then generally, if you've got Oasis who are there and in the prime, then why would you want to watch a substitute? Totally agree. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And one final question from Martin Theobald. What do you make of Matchroom partnering with a new ticketing organisation called, and let me find this, Stage Front something or other. Stage Front Tickets. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I've seen it. Now, let me tell you, we had all of that stuff about we're not involved in StubHub, we're not ticket agents, we're not ticket touts, we're not this, we're not that. And then they partner with one again. At
least StubHub can use the front of we have a primary ticketing service.
Yes.
The wording from Stagefront's own website, independently owned and operated ticket reseller that specializes in obtaining premium and sold out tickets to events nationwide.
So now, when you've had, remember all that thing where you were saying about this years ago, and Eddie Hearn got upset with you, right? But started. What it shows you is that as an organisation, they are up for this. So the allegations of what they were supposedly doing before, and they were denying, now yields much greater credibility. Let's just, and I'm politely saying that. Yeah, I mean, you're now going to see when you get a big sold out event, you know where the tickets are going, don't you?
Yeah. And I find it. So as a boxing fan, you speak out about these things, and what's the deterrent is that Eddie Hearn will go on IFL and go, oh yeah, you're a transformer duvet wank or whatever. Right, fine. You can call me that for all you like. It doesn't bother me. It's absolutely fine. Tell me I need to go out and meet more women. I think my wife would probably disagree. That's fine. But the simple fact is, as a collective of fans, you get ripped off through these commercial deals. And it's the fan that ends up paying more money out of it. It's the fans collectively that pay more money out of it. It's a terrible, terrible look. In a time, certainly, we mentioned it earlier about prices going up, inflation, and at that same point, the major boxing promoter of the UK partners with a ticket reseller.
Well, it's crazy. They are ticket touts. They are basically what ticket touts used to be on the street corners, flogging these tickets and making a fortune. They are just ticket touts dressed up with a nice frilly outfit, but they are basically ticket touts.
Yeah,
and I realise buy these tickets by the promoter to rip people off.
Yeah, ultimately, all Matchroom are doing is taking their relationship from one set of ticket touts to another set of ticket touts. Yeah. But that doesn't make it okay. That doesn't make it okay at all. It's actually worse, in my view, because they've taken the criticism for ones that do it slightly clandestine, and they've taken their relationship to one that does it more overtly. Like, that's not right for me. And I think, so I'm going to bang on about it on Twitter for about the next 6 months until I get called out by Eddie Hearn again.
I do. Whatever he says, it's not right. It's greedy, and they are a very wealthy company, Matchroom, and I've always thought upon them, and I do still think generally in terms of the way they deal with boxers, they are very decent. They're decent to deal with. They pay the money when they say. They honour what they say. I've always found them really decent promoters to deal with, but this decision, I think, is bang out of order and wrong. It doesn't matter whether they are benefiting commercially from it. It's the wrong commercial thing. It's no different than buying oil from Russia. People shouldn't buy oil from Russia when they're feeding it. It's just a wrong decision. It's a wrong thing to do. And sometimes in life, it doesn't matter how much money you make from doing something. It's just the wrong thing to do. And this is the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, as my friend Terry called it on Twitter, they just use fans as pinatas filled with cash that they'll just wallop to get more and more cash out of them. And everybody profits from that side of it. But the fans are the ones that ultimately end up paying the price for it.
No, the answer is don't pay inflated prices for tickets. I don't. I would never. If I want to go to a concert or a theatre and somebody wants to sell me an inflated price ticket, I don't buy it.
No,
I don't care how much I want to see something. I will pay normal price. I will not pay inflated prices for anything.
Yeah, I'm the same. So yeah, that's probably going to get my goat for the next couple of weeks because that kind of stuff really annoys me as a boxing fan and somebody who's then subjected to the inflated costs because of those commercial relationships. It annoys me. It really does. Anyway, right, on that note, next week we're going to be back and we're going to start focusing upon June and the shows that you've got running.
Yeah, we've got a show Saturday. We've got the 11th, which is headlined, cracking fight. Chris Davis taking on our William Webber for the vacant Southern Area Super Middleweight title. That's in the first thing. Are you getting down to any of these shows coming up, Martin, or are you?
Do you know what? I've got loads of stuff on in June, but I reckon I can get to at least one of them.
Right, the July. You're going to get to the July one, the big one.
Yeah. Well, again, assuming that I can escape for a weekend and get away, but all being well, I will certainly be at that one.
Yeah, and hopefully,
I hope to get to something.
There's a great fight, as you say. We can talk about all the fights for that. There's a great fight that's in progress of being hopefully sorted out in the next week or two that I told you about before we went on air. And you can see if you go on the website or the box rec, the fights are already lined up. But this other fight is going to be amazing. This could be added to it. It could be the best of the lot, couldn't it?
It will be a cracking fight if it gets made. It will be the cherry on top of an otherwise pretty substantial and decent cake.
Yeah, exactly.
Just don't go and buy a load of tickets up and sell them on a secondary ticket market because that'd be really.
Do you know? I actually think, Martin, deadly serious. I think that's set. The 23rd of July sells out. That will sell. That show will sell out without a shadow of a doubt. When we finished off adding all the fights we've got to add on it, I think at the end of it we will have 6 or 7 title fights on it.
Plus some eliminators as well, potentially.
Yeah, well, including, let's rephrase it. Probably,
okay.
Yeah, including the eliminators. So there'll be probably 1, 2, yeah. So either eliminators, final eliminators or titles. I think we'll have either 6 or 7 of them.
So next week we'll start focusing upon the shows that are announced and the fights that are announced on those shows.
Yeah.
So we need to get through some Q&A this week.
Brilliant. Cheers, Martin. Thanks a lot, mate.
Take care.